So you ever talk to somebody and they kind of replay the argument and they start getting mad again? If it was on the phone, they start doing their hand like this. They're doing his hand like this. And then I told him, he told me on the phone, and I looked at the phone like.
The worst segment in this show's history. We had an argument for like a whole hour. This is actually connected to the Bengals about teams that want to win. Who wants to win and who doesn't want to win?
That wasn't a bad. Listen,
and I said,
I submitted that one for an Emmy. What you talking about?
It's an ongoing conversation about who has the leverage here. They both have some leverage. I believe the Packers have more because they have what the Jets want and so desperately need. For the Jets to have the audacity, to have the nerve to say, yeah, we want him, but just in case he doesn't play in 24, we want some protection. That's not how this works. If I'm the Packers, that's a non-starter because it's not my problem. We've been dealing with this shit for 20 years. Going back to Brett Favre, welcome to my world where the quarterback decided whether he wants to play or not. That's the bed you want to make. You have chosen to be bedfellows with a guy who goes into darkness to decide whether or not he wants to make $60 million this year. If that's the choice you want to make, deal with it.
We get set for the opening pitch to be thrown out by Houston's own Megan Thee Stallion. The sellout crowd of about 41,000 have been on their feet for about the last 40 minutes. The teams announced their opening day lineups and their entire rosters and the World Series trophies.
See, who's gonna be the dirty old man first? Okay, look, like, hey,
what are you talking about? I'm here to analyze the pitch, and it's just a bit outside, but not bad.
Yes, it is.
But not bad.
Yes,
so
it is.
Really nice. I don't know what you focused on. I was looking at the pitch.
I know.
I was looking at the release.
No, you weren't.
You know.
No, you weren't.
So.
Hey, I'm just happy that the hood Mona Lisa was there doing her thing. I love it. So what? Give me an analysis. Give me an analysis of the pitch. Was that a curveball?
I'll give you some analysis. I'll give you some analysis.
Was that a cutter?
I'll give you some analysis.
Go ahead.
That was the greatest first pitch I've ever seen personally. As a matter of fact, let's see it again. Listen, we've seen a lot of memorable first pitches. I mean, we've had presidents throw out first pitches. Obviously 50 Cent was probably the worst.
Okay, let me just say,
ever.
hold on.
We've had people do. What? Go ahead.
Look, it's not the pitch, because like with closers, closers or batters, you got the walk up music. Closers come in. Rivera had his thing.
Yeah.
Everybody got their own thing. Just the walk up. It wasn't the greatest first pitch. It was the greatest. It was the greatest.
Do you think?
It's the greatest walk up.
Do you think when I'm talking, you think I'm really talking about the pitch? I'm sorry. You actually thought I was being serious.
I know you now. I know you lying.
I mean, the entire appearance was the greatest first pitch
You know
of
you
all
lying.
time.
Right. You know you're lying.
I'm saying
everybody out there knows you're lying. I know that know that you know you're lying.
I'm talking about like memorable ones. Like, of course, Mike Wilbon had his jersey tucked in. John Wall was awful. 50 Cent was probably the worst. Carl Lewis. I mean, presidents, like I said, have done it. But thanks to Megan Thee Stallion, baseball is back. And I do mean back. Okay?
Amen.
Like,
I know
forget shot clock, pitch clock, I beg your pardon. Forget the pitch clock. Forget the wider bases. Forget the pickoff rules. If you want to bring people to the ballpark and you want to bring more eyeballs to your telecast, more Megan Thee Stallion. More Megan Thee Stallion. That's all I got. That's all I got to say. More Megan Thee Stallion. Whoever booked her,
listen.
Shout out. Shout out. Whoever booked her, shout out. And,
okay,
why is she doing
that? Why is she doing that right there?
Why not? Because she can. Sidebar. Sidebar. And I know you would agree with me on this. Sidebar.
Yeah.
White pants are undefeated. That's all I got to say. White pants are undefeated. That's all I got to say on that one. I'm not trying to get you or me in trouble right now. I'm not trying to get you or me in trouble.
No, listen.
I'm just saying.
No, I'm not in trouble. I'm gonna say just I'll use her words.
Lord have mercy.
About it. I'll use her words. She's a savage. She's a savage. She's classy. She's bougie. She's ratchet. Okay, she moody and sassy. Okay, I'm a savage. That's what she said. That's what she said about herself. I'm not saying that. I'm just quoting her. Classy, bougie, and ratchet.
She chose violence.
Okay,
she chose
can
violence.
We just analyze? Can we analyze that?
No.
If you're on a first date, I'm saying if you're on a first date, and like way back, long time ago, for both of us. But if you meet somebody and they say, well, tell me about yourself. I'm classy, I'm bougie, and I'm ratchet. Okay, listen, we're good. We are good.
I'm about to say that's kind of my type.
Perfect.
That's kind of my type. Megan does it for me. But let's keep it moving. Let's quit while we're ahead. Okay, let's analyze opening day. For the first time since 1968, I wasn't born. You were. All 30 MLB teams. You were right. You were on the way.
I wasn't even thought of. No, I wasn't thought of. Oh, I know I wasn't thought of.
All 30 MLB teams played their first game on the same day. I love the pitch clock. In fact, what the hell took so long to come up with the pitch clock? Michael, the games were an average of 2 hours and 45 minutes. That's 18 minutes shorter than last year's 9-inning average of 3 hours and 3 minutes. It just adds so much drama, so much just concentration, focus, performance under pressure. Like, I'm feeling the shot clock. That was one of the takeaways. Oh, by the way, and steals were up. I mentioned the bigger bases. Base runners stole 21 bases on 23 attempts. Last season, teams combined for 6 steals in their opening games. So that's just a couple of things that I loved.
It's brilliant.
About opening day. Give me some of your opening day takeaways beyond Megan Thee Stallion, who stole the show, as always.
Is there anything else? No, really.
Not really,
seriously.
but, yeah.
But I would say even, put that up there, that tweet with the game times. And I think you see right here, Baltimore, Boston, opening pitch, game time temperature 38 degrees. No, your boy wasn't out there. 38 degrees first pitch. What's wrong with y'all? What's wrong with y'all? You don't play baseball when it's 38 degrees. You're crazy. The only thing I would do, look, they got the clock in, and that's great. What I'd like to see baseball do next year, I'm going to keep saying this, Rob Manfred, listen to me. I'm making sense. You don't trust me, but listen to me. What I'd like to see next year is all Northeast teams playing in the Mid-South, the South, or the West Coast. You can do it. Baseball has enough teams in the Mid-South, the South, West Coast, and playing in domes where you could have a pleasant opening day in March, if you're going to have it in March, and you have the Northeast home openers in mid-April. But the other thing is, that Baltimore-Boston game, it said time of game was 3 hours, 10 minutes. The reason that was so long, relatively, that was short in old school baseball.
Yeah,
the reason that was so long.
That's the average,
is because there were 12 walks in that game. So you had some control issues from both Red Sox pitching and Orioles pitching, which extended the game. In a normal game, that would have been sub 3 hours too. I like that umpires are on it. I like that we can see it. Some tweaks, we're watching it on TV, that clock should be visible at all times. It really leads to great fan engagement. And the other thing is, Shohei Ohtani is dope.
Yeah, he did not have control issues. So check this out. 26 opening day start, to your point, since 1901 with 10 or more strikeouts and no runs allowed. So he had the 26th opening day start since 1901 with 10 or more strikeouts and no runs allowed. And yet, you know what happened? The Angels lost. In every other instance that happened, the pitcher's team won. So, here's how we pick. Okay, we got the pitch clock, we got the bigger bases, we got the pickoff rules. We have Megan Thee Stallion throwing out the first pitch at every game, every day for the rest of the season, and trade Shohei Ohtani. Free Shohei Ohtani, please. So he's playing meaningful baseball games beyond the World Baseball Classic. He's absolutely the most dynamic star in sports. That's not even a hot take.
Yeah, he is.
Like, I don't know another athlete doing it better than Shohei Ohtani right now in any major sport.
And I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that because Tom Warner said yesterday, Shohei Ohtani is the best player of my lifetime. And one of the producers I work with in Boston, Mother Gig, said, oh yeah, in his lifetime, he's seen Willie Mays. I was like, yeah, I love Willie Mays and Hall of Famer. I don't want to go crazy.
He wasn't striking out 10.
But he's a guy, but I'm saying like a guy who's MVP level, he's MVP level with the bat, and he's Cy Young level
at the mound.
When he's pitching.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a hot take. I mean, I'm trying to think of all the guys I've seen. Think about the players you've seen. So the greatest baseball players you've seen.
Barry Bonds.
Barry Bonds, Ken Griffey Jr., like all
Roger
these
Clemens.
guys.
Yeah.
We've just never seen anything like him. You could say he's sassy, moody, nasty. By the way,
I'm about to say.
Let me ask you, dude. Like, how tall is she?
Yeah.
I
don't know.
How tall is?
I don't know. I'm trying to stay married. I'm I don't know who's watching this. I'm in my wife down the hall, like white pants, man.
Okay.
White pants. Just on top of it, like that's it, as if she needed help, like on top of it. On top of everything else she. Okay, speaking of marriage. Before you do that,
move on.
Real quick. Move on.
No.
What?
I'm just gonna ask you.
What?
Just off script. I don't know if you remember.
Off script.
No.
What script?
Names are being redacted here. Do you remember the story from the Patriots locker room back in the day? We were both covering a Patriots game, and a Patriots player.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I do remember
said
that.
to another one.
Yeah.
Yo man.
Yeah.
White pants. And that's all he said.
I remember.
Yo, man. White pants.
How did you propose?
Okay,
anyway. How did you propose to Oni? Where were you? Weren't y'all somewhere special?
Our kitchen.
That's fine. No, that's fine. No, we were in the bedroom.
Yeah, it was in the kitchen.
I mean, not like that. I mean, it would just happen to be in the bedroom. I don't want to give y'all no ideas, but I mean, that's not that's neither here nor there.
Okay.
I don't know how you feel, and in a minute we're gonna get Natalie's perspective. Like, because I'm one of these people that I actually appreciate public proposals. I appreciate proposals. I mean, I'm not the romantic type, so what the hell do I know? But I appreciate public proposals because they are like, it's bold. Like, you put it out there for the world to see. You know what I'm saying? It's courageous to me. You know, I'm into it. And so a lot of women have been like, no, man, I don't know women want that. This guy, I think it was at the Dodgers game, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Dodger Stadium. My man proposes at Dodger Stadium, runs onto the field, in the outfield, in front of the world, and takes one for I don't know if that's her right there. My guy takes one for the team.
Oh!
Like, dude, I don't know if she said yes or not after she bailed him out. I don't know if she said yes or not. But if that doesn't prove one's love and devotion, I don't know what does. First of all, that form tackle, the Rams and the Chargers could use some players. My guy, that officer, takes his job way too seriously. Because if you see a dude proposing, he's on me. Just tap him on the shoulder like, bro, you got, bro.
So first of all,
dog, that's some concrete Charlie, Mike Curtis shit there. First of all, what?
I mean, look, bro. Like, we're throwing the penalty flag. That's a defenseless receiver. He was kneeling
Targeting.
down.
That's targeting.
He's not trying to make a football play. He's kneeling down.
No, he's not.
And my man comes in just doing way too much. Like, what are you doing? But you know, those are people. Some guys in that position, they just can't help themselves. And now, so really? Can we see what this guy? You say you're not the romantic type. That's what I want to know. First of all, they probably tried to jack the ring. No, leave the ring alone. And okay, why we need three? Why we need three dudes? They're not the romantic. You're not the romantic type. They are not the romantic type. Far from.
Let's get a woman's perspective. Natalie, if you were being proposed to in that manner, you would be obligated to say yes, would you not?
I mean, I'm not obligated to do anything, but
there we go. That's right. That's right.
Would I say yes? I would, so not to embarrass him, but like what he did was stupid. Like that doesn't scream anything to me but stupidity. But
love makes you do stupid things.
So why say yes? If he's being stupid, don't give him that yes.
Yeah, the proposal isn't. I mean, it depends on how I feel about him.
Now.
But it depends on how I feel about him. Like if I'm into him like that, I'd probably be like, oh my God, this idiot, like what did he do? And I'd go bail him out. Yes, and probably accept his proposal, assuming, some men do this and and women don't want to marry them. So I'm not a fan of public proposals.
Your question is
for
judgment.
A variety of reasons. But for myself personally, I'm just a very private person. So I would not want a proposal in this way. It's not, to me, it's not like a tacky or not tacky thing. It's just an individual thing. And I think if you're going to marry someone, and you don't have a sense of the woman who you want to marry, how she would like to be proposed to, then probably you shouldn't be getting.
She did say yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Good. That's a relief. Because that would have been an insult to injury, literally, if she would not have said yes. So thank you for answering. My question. Meanwhile, Natalie, you in these Twitter streets, I'm more than sure there's a lot of people proposing to Megan Thee Stallion before last night, but especially after last night. Did you have any commentary on Megan bringing back baseball, one first pitch at a time?
Wow. I support Megan always. So she didn't bring me to baseball, but I was very happy after all she's been through to just see her out there looking beautiful, having fun. Seeming like herself. So that's what I was happy to see. Yeah. As far as proposals, I mean, men were, proposing, becoming fans of the Astros, everything that you can imagine. I think it did its job and what it had to do. But shout out to Meg. I love her. And I'm just happy if Meg is having fun, if she's happy, then I love it.
Protect her at all costs.
I mean, did either one of you know anything about her athletic background? Like, is she a baseball, softball player, basketball, athlete, anything? You know anything about Megan? I'm just wondering. I
don't know.
I don't. I just know she's a goddess. Okay. All right, Natalie, as the curator of the comment section, y'all had a pretty strong week, as I understand it. No, not coincidentally, I wasn't here until yesterday. Tell me, what have the people been responding to this week in these comment streets?
Yeah, well, I mean, fitting is, I know, is it Bard who he didn't play
Daniel
due
Bard?
to, Daniel Bard.
He's on the injured list with anxiety.
Yes,
I love that.
Well, we don't love, right, that he's on the injured list, but that he was open about it.
No, what I'm saying, I love that his self-awareness. Yeah. I've known him, by the way, for a long time. What you guys don't know, back in the day, this is crazy. It's always funny when people ask me to do stuff like, you really want to ask me to do this? Many years ago, the Red Sox used to have a rookie program, and they'd have a member of the media come in and talk to their rookies about what to expect in Major League Baseball. So I had Daniel Bard's rookie class at Fenway Park, really thoughtful guy, talented guy, and he went through this before. He went through this bout of, they didn't know what it was. We didn't talk about it like that. At the time, it was like Daniel Bard somehow can't throw pitches, and they thought his career was over. He was this talented, dominant reliever, and all of a sudden he couldn't do it. And the Rockies got him back in the Major League Baseball. So I'm glad that he is able to articulate this and expand our comprehension. Natalie, I've heard you talk about this. It's health. Mental health is health. And to expand our understanding of all the health spectrum. I'll put it that way. So shout out to
you were connecting that to the comments, Natalie?
Yeah, he's part of a long list of athletes who have been coming out, right, and talking about mental health. So we did talk about that on Wednesday. And yeah, mental health is health, period. Someone, saying what I said. This is an excellent conversation. We talked about the fact that Andre Drummond just came out and said he's taking a break from social to take care of his mental health. We've had Simone Biles, we've had Naomi, Ben Simmons was out for a long time. Ja, most recently, went to counseling for stress. So I really like this one comment because I talked about on the air some resources, but thankful and appreciative for the conversation. And then this person went on to say, if I may add a suggestion, if you Google counselor or therapist in your area and gave an example, you will find a huge listing with every listed counselor in the area, who they are, background, and treatment. So I loved, our viewers chiming in to provide additional resources and ways that people can find mental health professionals.
I'll say one last thing about this before we get to the next topic that our viewers, and thank you for all the comments, as always, that our viewers responded to. I'll share this. Yesterday, and once upon a time, this would have been probably taboo, would have been private, but we're normalizing it, right? One conversation at a time, one acknowledgement at a time. I took, and you'll be proud of me, Natalie, because we talk about this a lot offline. I took one of my children to her first appointment with a therapist.
Love it.
And yeah, and I told the therapist while I was in there, I was like, I want to make sure that this is normal and that this is a part of my children's lifestyle, because it wasn't a part of mine growing up. I'm a procrastinator. I continue to put off, I'm a procrastinator and I will fix it tomorrow, but I continue to put off, as you know, Natalie, visiting a therapist myself. I know I need it. We all need it. That's the point. We all need it. But I didn't want to delay any longer, not exposing my children to that part of a healthy lifestyle. And then now, they didn't experience it because I didn't. And now that same type of, coping without actually, using professional help for your overall health, but specifically mental health, I just didn't want to pass that habit on to my kids. So we took like that first step yesterday. So I wanted to share that with you, it's particularly Natalie, but really everybody, because the point is to be open, honest, and transparent about our struggles and what we're doing as human beings to cope. So there's that. What was another hot topic? We had about 6 minutes before we're going to take a break and get to Dr. Jason Johnson. What was another hot topic, Natalie, that had the people in these comments?
Well, we discussed Jonathan Majors, and, we talk about him a lot on this show in general. And so there was some news that came down over the weekend about him being arrested for a domestic violence incident. And so we discussed it. Michael and I discussed it. And, there's always this point, where people are saying, like, the problem is no one is talking about this, has seen the evidence. People want to err on the accuser, while the accused, Majors, is getting real damage to his career without being convicted, and before the public have seen convincing evidence. And before I get into the second comment, I just wanted to address that quickly, because this is something people always do, and rightfully so, right? In this country, you're innocent till proven guilty. But a point that I made on the show that day, and there has been some other stuff that's come out since Monday, is that we tried to separate what is fact and what we know from just like what are reports. And what we did know is that a woman went to the hospital for injuries that she sustained. We knew that. And we know that his side denied it, and they said that they would offer proof showing us that. Now, since that time, the Manhattan DA has charged Jonathan Majors. He's been actually charged. And also there were some text messages released that I would say don't actually help him, but that's what he put out. So they said there'd be a video, there would be some other things. We haven't seen that yet, but he is charged, and as of right now, they are proceeding. And so to also address that comment, if we could go back to the comments, people are wondering why people often jump on the side of the person who's accusing, the victim. And that's what I'm going to call them. And I opened up to talk about the victim side of this because I've experienced domestic violence in a relationship before. And the reason why myself and others say believe victims is because it's not so easy as people think. People think, oh, these women, they just want money. You know, they're just trying to get something. They think it's so easy to come out and make a false claim about this. And like my family, my immediate family doesn't even know that I was in an abusive relationship. And there were things about that relationship my best friend only found out like within the last couple of years. So it's not an easy thing to do. And when people do come out often, we're not believed. So that's why we say believe victims. It's not a common occurrence as people think. I understand that Black men have been harmed by women making false accusations about them, particularly women of the other race. But we cannot just continue to say, oh, you know, we're just not going to believe victims because we know Black men can be harmed. We also don't know the race of this victim. So I was just trying to provide that victim's perspective.
Yeah, as I said to you when you brought it up, I'm glad that you shared that. Just like Michael, I'm glad that you shared the story about your children and your view on therapy. This is all relevant. This is all helpful to us. I would say this though, that first commenter, you know, talking about essentially what you said, Natalie, innocent until proven guilty. Sure, but that doesn't mean passively addressing the story. So you can do that. You can say nothing has been proven, exactly. but you still have to provide context. So, yep. Oh, well, what if she's making it up? Okay, you asked that question. I need to give you some information about the patterns and the statistics and how generally this is not made up. Sometimes it is, but most of the time it's not made up. No, it is very common.
It's very rare. False accusations are very rare.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So it rarely is somebody making it up, and it is common for someone who is a victim. I'll use your term, Natalie. I think it's appropriate. It's common for a victim to say this happened and then to recant.
Yes.
That is common.
And say it was their fault.
That's the common. That's the common track. And so we got to get beyond this. Just because somebody is innocent until proven guilty doesn't mean you ignore all the information. You don't have to put your brain can come along with you. You don't have to put that aside when we're talking about these situations.
Yeah, well, and
or your experience.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. No,
or common sense.
One last thing I want to say, I just thought it was a really great point that one of the commenters made when she said, like, just because like white men or other people have gotten away with certain things in the past or the way that they're treated doesn't mean as a community we have to say we want the Black men to be treated the same. Like if a woman is harmed of any race and she's harmed by at the hands of a man, we should want to hold that person accountable, no matter what, you know, as beloved as Jonathan Majors is in our community. And time will tell what the truth is there.
My grandfather was a preacher, so I know better than to preach after somebody's given a word. Thank you, Natalie. All I will add though is that a lot of people, Michael, when they say innocent until proven guilty, they're not saying it from a place of neutrality. They're saying it, the implied in that is that she's lying. And so it becomes a defense mechanism. And so every time there's a sexual assault or domestic violence incident involving an athlete or a celebrity, we do a great job of telling on ourselves because the conversation inevitably becomes topic and it exposes all of us and how far we have to go when it comes to just discussing this with the nuance, sensitivity, and sensibility that it requires. Thank you, Natalie. Appreciate you. We'll see more from you later on. I'll put it like this. I think the NFL has got Jim Trotter effed up. Or they didn't pick the wrong one. Okay, Jim Trotter, if you thought he was going quietly into that good night, no, this is Jim's tweet from today, and obviously this has been big news, not just in the NFL and the media world, but especially here at Brother From Another. He is truly our brother from another. He said, I've thought a lot about Brian Flores' lawsuit against the NFL for alleged discriminatory hiring practices. His case is the micro. The macro is the culture within the NFL, including owner behavior that was covered up by the league-owned newsroom. Stay tuned, more to come. See, the problem for the league is Jim Trotter knows how the sausage was made, and he knows where a lot of the bodies were buried. Jason Johnson, we have seen this movie before. Hell, I've lived this movie, okay? We know typically how it ends. Right. But this ending might be a little bit different this time, which goes back to my original point about the league might have picked the wrong one. What are your observations as it relates to our brother Jim Trotter and his ongoing situation with the NFL and his termination?
So first, when I heard the news that it wasn't renewed, I automatically DM'd him. I said, great work. I expressed other sentiments that we can't say on Peacock. And I'll say this, to quote a sort of perfect movie example as you're referring to. If you strike me down, I will be more powerful than you ever could have imagined. Okay?
I'm telling you.
There is a way in which, when it comes to our people in particular, if you free us from the concerns, confines, and occasional financial responsibilities of being attached to a large conglomerate, it gives us a level of freedom to speak truths that heretofore we were not free to speak. So in the case of Jim Trotter, it's not just that he was always right. I mean, look, he was doing journalism. He was doing his job. It's not just that he was pointing out the institutional racism that manifests itself in everything from the hiring of coaches to GMs to discipline to who covers the league. But in his firing or non-renewal of his contract for asking the basic questions that fans and the 70% of African Americans who make up the league ask on a regular basis, him being fired for that proves his point. So I'm excited to see what happens next. I hope that other people follow in his pathway, because the league itself can't keep playing this game and think they're going to be successful. You will have other people asking questions. You will have other people creating their own outlets. You will have other players asking these questions. Your only way to solve the problem of Jim Trotter is to answer some of the things Jim Trotter was talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what, Mike and Doc, but I think it's also, I agree with everything you said, but just, I don't know about y'all, but the whole DEI thing is really killing me, because everybody says it, especially in 2020, after George Floyd. Everybody said it, including the NFL, in racism, and it takes all of us. But isn't it disheartening, infuriating, some combination of both, to see this happening in the NFL and throughout the United States of America? People who will talk the talk, but when it's time to walk it, we have headlines like this.
I mean, it's deeper than that. Look, one African American is murdered in a modern day lynching that happens to get caught on camera. I mean, even Forbes, this came out in December or January of this year. Forbes magazine, Forbes, not a bastion of liberal commentary, did an article talking about the over $200 million in publicly pledged funds from Fortune 500 companies that was supposed to go to criminal justice, diversity, advocacy, blah, blah, blah. Ain't none of that money showed up. Okay, now unless suddenly one of these Fortune 500 companies is like, well, the way my check-ins and savings is set up, then we know it's not because they can't afford it. It's because they were never invested in. It's because they saw a black man murdered. They could not find a way to escape that problem. They felt guilty about it for all of 6-7 minutes. And then they went back to what they were doing before. And we see that all the time in this country. It is the history of the United States to see tragedy, shame, abuse, violence, feel bad about it for 24 hours and go back to doing the same thing. I mean, did we not just see a school shooting? People felt bad for 48 hours and went right back to the same thing. So whether it has to do with race or school shootings or violence in the environment, this is what this country does.
Meanwhile, to another brother, bucking the system, Lamar Jackson, what's your POV on his standoff with the Ravens and the NFL in general?
First off, can we just say, I mean, there's several CO words you can say. There's C-O-N-spiracy, but I prefer C-O-L collusion, because it's always been collusion. We've known that it's only 32 people. 32 people can collude to do anything. And the idea that Lamar Jackson, less than 2 years removed from a unanimous MVP, okay, who on average has played more games than you've gotten out of Aaron Rodgers for the last couple of years, the fact that Lamar Jackson can be on the market and can't find a job is nothing other than the fact that the league is angry at the Browns for offering Deshaun Watson a fully guaranteed contract, and they are going to break this black man down and remind him that fully guaranteed contracts are not being offered to anybody. That's all this is. It's not about winning. It's not about him not having an agent. It's not about him being dramatic or difficult or anything else like that. This man wants to get paid, as every single person playing the game right now wants to get paid, and he has a right to, being in one of the most important positions in the sport. And if you can tell me that the New York Jets can spend time chasing after a dishonest, conspiracy theory, Joe Rogan loving, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And the league can go after broke boy players like Andy Dalton. And you can see Derek Carr get a job, and you can see the Rams still dealing with Matt Stafford. There's a whole lot of mediocre, low-quality quarterbacks out there. And I said Matt Stafford because I ain't changed my opinion of him. There's a whole lot of mediocre quarterbacks out there.
I'm not getting distracted. I'm not getting distracted.
And Lamar can't get a job.
Because your overall point, that was a word with Dr. Jason Johnson. Look, I might be naive when I say this, but because I've seen people float this. I'm hoping for everybody's sake that maybe the teams that are deciding to make a play after the draft. Because not only adding to your mediocre point is unproven guys. So maybe after the draft, and they give picks not this year, but in 24 and 25.
Right.
I hope to God that that's the play, and not just blackballing this dude like he's Colin Kaepernick or the next Colin Kaepernick. All right. Meanwhile, speaking of Colin Kaepernick, Donald Trump indicated, as he said.
Here we go.
Indicated. I mean, but indicted in New York, of course. I'm not optimistic about that. I'm not getting excited about potentially seeing this dude in cuffs and behind bars. But in fact, going to your point earlier about Jim Trotter, if you strike me down, I'm only going to become even stronger, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Is this going to actually help him politically? Or is it already helping him politically?
No. Okay. Look, first off, a conviction don't help nobody unless you're trying to sell rap albums in the 90s, right? Like, nobody, this does not help anyone. You don't ever want to get indicted for anything under any circumstance.
Well, an indictment and a conviction is two different, as you know, an indictment and a conviction is two different things.
Yes. Neither one of them helps. Neither one of them helps this guy one way or another. And I will say this, because there's a context to this that I always think is important politically to understand. All of this happened because he wanted to pay off an adult film star who he had sex with. And frankly, if Donald Trump, and this is the story of his life, if he was not such a jerk, all he had to do 6 or 7 years ago from the PR standpoint is if he had just said, all right, you know what? There were some problems with my marriage with Melania. She has forgiven me. I don't want you guys dragging Stormy Daniels' name. I've worked with her in the past. I was a celebrity. Let's move on from this. It'll be fine. But what he had to do, he had to deny it. He had to deny her 3 times. He had to say, I don't know her name. I don't know what Stormy Daniels is. Isn't she one of the X-Men? I'm confused. He called her horse face. He said he never had sex with her. He built this situation up. If he shut up, she probably wouldn't work with the cops as much.
And yet, again, like, you're the political scientist, this is why I asked, and yet, knowing all this, he still got elected. And the thing that might take him down is paying off a porn star, not inciting an insurrection. Jason Johnson.
Or other stuff. Or anything
else.
Jason. I mean,
anything
just
else.
Keep going.
This is like Al Capone getting taken out for tax evasion.
Tax evasion. I love this, y'all. On the way out, you know what I love on the way out? I love this. They're saying now on the right, the system is broken. Oh, now the justice system is broken. We've been on that. We told y'all. We told y'all the justice system is broken, but you were able to take advantage of it when you had your own guy in Barr and others who would do what you wanted them to do. It wasn't a problem then, but now, I get it. The system is broken.
And I'll say this real quick. But between McDougal, Stormy Daniels, Florida, what he's got happening in Georgia, the instrument. Look, he got a rap sheet like Death Row Records, right? Like he's just building this stuff up. And one of these cases, he's not necessarily.
I like it.
Like I don't think Trump goes to jail. He's not going to go to jail for Stormy Daniels. But there are criminal charges that he'll face in terms of the insurrection and what happened in Georgia. And those things could, I doubt it, but those things, quite frankly, could put him in handcuffs.
Whew. We can only hope. We can only dream. Thank you, Jason.
Thanks, guys. Anytime.
We know what the deal is, you know. It's not hard to understand. If you're not focused, if you don't play hard, they're going to kick out. Simple as that. They did it tonight. Won by 40. If you're not locked in, if you don't play hard, and if you, don't go out there to make it tough for them, they're going to kick out. Simple as that. You know, there's no level of concern. It's a fact. You know, so now you have this in your head, and it's up to us to see how we're going to deal with it.
I had a feed item in yesterday's feed saying who's going to stop the Bucks, and this was after they pummeled the Pacers. How about the team that stopped them in the semis last year? How about the team that beat them by 41 last night, led by 49 at one point? Back on Christmas, the Celtics beat the Bucks 139-118. Now the Bucks did beat the Celtics on Valentine's Day when the Celtics sat 4 starters. So. Michael, our resident Bostonian, Nat, our resident NBA aficionado, I asked the both of you, you first, Nat, do the Celtics have the Bucks number?
I'm not going to go that far because, last year the series went 7 games, so I think it'll be a tight series, but I think the Celtics can win again, and I think the default position that everyone is taking that the Bucks would have won had Middleton played is just incorrect. So
I think had it not been a road trip or second night of a back-to-back, some built-in excuses there. They're coming off a road trip. That's like shoe size to you, right? Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I'm with you. I'm with you on shoe size. I would say, look, let's just get right to it. There's one team in basketball that the Celtics don't want to see, or actually, no, that's too strong. There's one team in basketball that the Celtics have a mental issue with, and they got to get over that hurdle, or maybe they won't be champions. Natalie, that's the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors know how to play the Celtics, and they give the Celtics problems. But the Celtics are not 41 points better than Milwaukee, but they are better than Milwaukee, despite how they'll finish. I think Milwaukee will finish with the number 1 seed. They got an advantage, even though they lose a tiebreaker, 2-game lead with 5 games to play. Yeah. They need to collapse a little bit not to give that number 1 seed. But the Celtics problem is maybe a problem of somebody it's not y'all. Y'all weren't like this, but somebody It's just that student who, when the moment comes, when you got to step up, I'm going to step up. But if the moment ain't here, if it's just an average Friday in March, ain't nothing attached to it, nah, we ain't ready. You realize the Celtics have lost 10 games to teams that are either not going to make the playoffs or are fighting for play-in position. That's 10 losses, including 3 losses to the Orlando Magic. They lost to Oklahoma City. They gave up 150 points to OKC. What? They've lost 3 games to New York teams that aren't that good. 2 against the Knicks, 1 to Brooklyn. So that's they lost 2 games early in the year against Cleveland before they knew Cleveland was to be respected. So if you really break down their losses, most of their losses are to teams that they don't take seriously. When they take the assignment seriously,
gotcha.
They're dangerous.
Okay.
They're the best
team. Another team I know. But okay. Anyway.
What's that? What's that? I missed that.
I said, sounds like another team I know. But anyway, I want to talk women's basketball. I want to talk.
I was about to say, from Boston to Aliyah Boston. From Boston to that was my transition I had in mind. Who y'all got? I can't bet against Dawn in South Carolina. Got a lot of love for Caitlin Clark. Cannot bet against them, Natalie.
That would be the smart bet. Okay, so Yeah, I mean, I'm all in. I know Caitlin Clark. I know people compare her to my fave, Steph. So I know everyone's excited to see the show she's going to put on Iowa versus South Carolina. But I'm going with the Gamecocks. I'm going with the dominance. I'm going with Aliyah Boston. And it's going to be a really, really exciting matchup. But before we even get to that game, you have LSU versus Virginia. And it's going to be, beats Virginia Tech. And it's going to be great. You know, like, I'm all in on Angel Reese. Not a big fan of her coach, but all in on Angel Reese. You know, she tweeted when they won their last game, what y'all gonna say now? There's just been so much commentary around her and you know, how she looks, how she dresses, what she says, how she carry on with on the court. So I love it. I love that the women's basketball is getting this kind of attention.
And that's the thing.
We talked about it earlier this week on the show, and it is our best performing segment of the week. People are excited in the comments. They're like, I never thought I would be so excited for this. I'm more excited about this than the game. So, you know, it's been such a great experience watching this. Coverage is up everywhere.
The ratings are crazy.
Yes.
Like that narrative that nobody watches women's sports or women's basketball, that day is dead. We don't roll like that no more. Like I was going to say,
we don't roll
no
like
matter
that.
who wins, no matter who wins, women's basketball is winning. And conversely, Natalie, even though I'm more interested in this men's Final Four, absent a 1 seed for the first time since 2011 and no Blue Buds, unless you count UConn, even though I'm more interested in this Final Four, I'm invested than I typically am, the women, from a rating standpoint, is going to blow out the men. Everybody's predicting like record low numbers for the men Final Four, whereas the women are about to probably set records, starting with tonight's semifinal game, Nat.
Yes, and that's what I'm so excited to see. Like, look, I mean, this comment here, I can't wait for Iowa versus South Carolina. I'm keeping my Friday clear. I never thought I would make women's basketball game must-see TV. The game is growing so quickly. So I love to see that. You know, there are some other comments. I won't read the other one in detail, but people, because we talked a lot about coverage and how the players are covered. And, you know, someone said, like, can't we just be excited that women's basketball is being talked about? And the answer to that is no. Like, we can do two things more than one thing. We can be excited about women's basketball and also point out disparities in coverage. And we're certainly
that's part of talking about it. It should, like, the growth is talking about it, you know, on a deeper level, not just on a surface level.
Right.
That's part of the growth.
Yeah.
That's where it's been for so many years. But if I look at South Carolina versus Iowa, Caitlin Clark is going to ball out, but you can't go against South Carolina's going to win a championship again. I think second consecutive year. I want to ask you guys this because I haven't. I feel like I've missed something with Kim Mulkey. You said it. You just made an allusion to it, Natalie. You said I'm not a fan of the player Angel Reese, but not of her coach. Has Kim Mulkey said anything that has kind of redeemed her comment or it clarified her comment about Brittany Griner? Because I'm with you. I think that's why you said it. Her Brittany Griner comment or non-comment was foul, and I was like, I'm done with her. Has she said anything since? Because if she hasn't, go Tech.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, I'm rooting for the Gamecocks, but I want to see Angel Reese put on, and I know no matter what, like, I just feel very confident in Dawn and Aliyah Boston and the Gamecocks. So she hasn't said anything to clarify the statement, you know, to answer your question. Okay. And she has other just little comments that she's made. We don't need to get into this because I want to keep the spotlight on the women's, you know, basketball, but I'm just not a fan of her.
But this is part of it too.
Angel, I'm a fan of Angel, and I don't want her to be hurt by her coach. So I'm just gonna make it about Angel and not her coach. But yeah, not a fan of the coach.
This is part of the growth of the game. I don't want to belabor the point, but if we're talking about men's basketball, this is why the coverage has gotta. We all gotta come up.
Agree.
We're talking about men's basketball, and it's Rick Pitino or Jim Boeheim, one of these coaches who are controversial or just stayed around too long. In the case of Boeheim, sorry, Gary, got to take another shot at Boeheim. We talk about the coach and we talk about the players. So this is all a part of the calculus of this coverage. Sometimes when people ask for more coverage or equal coverage, yes, they deserve it. But you get a lot of stuff. When you get Equal coverage, you get a lot of crap that you really don't want to deal with.
Yeah, when I talk about equal coverage, I'm talking about players. And this is a women's basketball issue. It's not college, right? Like Stewie, Sue Bird, traditionally Tarazi, the white players in the NBA, in the WNBA, and then also at the college level are given more attention and shine than the Black players. You had the video game, they came out, they had men wearing women's jersey, and Asia Clark was not there. I mean, Asia Wilson was not there.
How was that conversation received? Because y'all had this conversation on Wednesday, right?
We
How
did.
was that received in the comment
that was when
section?
people were saying, like, just be happy to be here. And people said, oh, they talk about Aliyah Boston all the time, but that is not correct, which is why Dawn Staley called it out. They talk about Dawn Staley. They talk about the team collectively. ESPN didn't even invite Aliyah Boston to the ESPY. So we need to be clear when we're talking about coverage, what we're talking about. This would be the first time in decades that a player on the #1 team and also the undefeated team didn't win Player of the Year. And I'm not suggesting that Caitlin didn't deserve it. And I get it. She's a very entertaining player. So I think there's recency bias. I think, I do think there's, a race factor, but I'm not saying that it's one of those things. I'm just saying this is a systemic problem in women's basketball at the college and pro levels. And so we were pointing that out, but Caitlin is incredible. She is amazing. She's definitely worthy of the award that she received. And I don't want to discount that. And she's amazing to watch. And so I am happy she's getting the shine, but we just want Aliyah, Angel, and some of these other players to get the shine and not to discuss them in these ways. Like I think with Aliyah, because she's so dominant and strong and things like that. If this was the men's game, look at how they talk about LeBron. That would be like, oh my gosh, it'd be so great. But with like the pretty stuff, like you remember Steph before he became a champion, how people would talk, oh, they just jump shooters, they're just this, right? But now when the women are like playing like that, it's like, ooh. And also Steph normalized it. So that's really my only point. Like, make the coverage equal, celebrate all these players, Black and white, and give them all the same love.
Hey, Nat. Hey,
yeah.
I think Michael, I think you'd agree. You dropped a 40-point triple-double today in like 10 minutes.
Thank you.
Hey, debate all you want whether LeBron is the GOAT. We do know he's the cheapest player of all time. And I kind of like it. It's a little endearing. So apparently, I guess you got to pay money to have a verified check on Twitter. Elon Musk charging people now. Yeah, whatever. I won't pay it, but then again, I ain't got LeBron's money. What you think about LeBron being cheap? Because that's his brand. He's notoriously cheap. Wi-Fi, the whole thing. Doesn't like paying for anything. Because you're cheap too, aren't you? And aren't you cheap, if I recall? No?
Well,
yes?
No. I mean, just it's got to be efficient. It's got to be efficient. Got to make sense, right? So you don't want to pay for things that you shouldn't have to pay for. I think that makes a lot of sense. By the way, I want you to know, Megan Thee Stallion's got a concert in Houston, Final Four concert. There's time.
Oh, Jesus.
You down?
Stop with this. Get behind me, Satan.
What?
I'll try to tip me.
Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget, you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.